Hi, I'm Tristan.
And I'm Ben, and welcome to this episode of RWBY Ramblings, where we're going to discuss the penultimate episode of Volume 5.
And what an episode it was. Ben, I know we've said that a few times. Like, oh man, last episode was so. This was my favorite episode of the volume. There were just so many things in it that I really enjoyed, primarily Team RWBY's individual growth. That, in my opinion, is one of my favorite things about this episode. I know there's a lot of great things about this episode, but I, in particular, really enjoyed seeing all their personal growths in their various ways.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, in a very broad sense, this episode, obviously we're going to go a lot more into it, but as a whole, this episode was just kind of, its brackets around, or it's starting to close the brackets around most of their storylines, which, is something we've been waiting for a long time. So, yes, I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all having their own individual character development arcs, and you're really seeing them shine in their own individual ways of where they've come and where they still lack. So it's going to be really great to see how they evolve as a team.
Yes.
From here, as I imagine they are going to stick together.
And we can talk more about the future later. But first, let's go through what happened in this episode.
Bam.
Yes? Yeah, how'd this episode start?
Bam. First thing that happens, RWBY Yang swap. Nice sister, no need of communication. We know how to mess up the enemy.
That was pretty slick, yeah.
That was really slick. And then Margaret's, oh, hey, kicks away. Crimson Rose, oh, hey, what are you going to do, RWBY? And then this is RWBY's primary moment of growth, of dodge a punch, headbutt, like, shut up, Mercury.
Yes.
I'm gonna kick your butt.
Did you notice that was the exact headbutt move that Oscar used on her?
Yes.
In their training sequence?
Correct.
Yes.
It was great.
I think that, and then one other moment later in this episode, they really do a great job, in RWBY in general, and these are just two small examples of that, but they do a really good job of foreshadowing not just big events, but also small events that they call back to later. And so I really liked seeing that headbutt again. Just that small thing. It was a great detail, and it really tied events together and showed her growth.
Indeed. As we have been aware for a while, RWBY's not very good at physical contact. Or not physical fighting.
I know what you meant. Yeah.
Yes. And that was shown in Yang's intro trailer where RWBY was like, I can't, where's my gun? It's like, you don't have your gun.
And also in her pathetic bout versus Mercury as Climax Volume 3.
Yes, that was a very great parallel where Mercury's like, I can totally take this girl in physical combat. There's no way. Oh my gosh, she just headbutted me.
Yes, that was great. All right, so then after that.
Oh, wait, one more thing.
Okay.
RWBY's pissed.
Yes.
She's like, whatever I need to do to make
I was going to mention that. She's still angry, and it's pretty great.
It's really great. Okay, moving on. Next thing I have on my list is John didn't realize he got his semblance, which I find to be hilarious and very John-like. It's like, wait, what do you mean? It's like, how? Nora, of all the people, Nora's like, come on, dude. You opened up your semblance.
Nora, who is not very good at putting two and two together.
That's been shown married. Oh my gosh, they're birds.
Exactly, yes.
I'm very fond of Nora, but sometimes it's just really, it's really funny.
I think he was obviously, just caught up in the moment and was like, oh, right, that's what's going on here.
That's fair.
But I just wanted to say that you were 100% right in the previous episode. This is not initially what I was thinking at all, but John seems to be basically, as Nora explains, an aura battery.
Yep. He is, but one thing I want to point out is that it seems like not only is he an aura battery, but he can enhance them past their normal abilities.
Yes.
Well,
yes, potentially.
That's crazy. Because if what Pierre was saying is like, oh, hey, you have a ton of aura, that has many implications for in the future of how well John is going to be able to help his allies in ways that no one's going to see coming. Where it's like, oh, I can, oh, hey, Yang, you're having trouble against this foe, right? Yeah. There you go. Punch him again and see what happens.
And I'll go on to more of that later when it actually comes up. Because, but you're right. When Weiss wakes up or whatever, after she is finished healing from her aura, being replenished by John's aura, Jean asks, how you feeling? She goes, better. much better.
Keep it up. I mean, that happens a little bit later, but yeah, essentially, I also just was very surprised how quickly Weiss was being healed. I mean, it is really cool that it's not he is healing them, he's giving them the ability to heal themselves, which for one, that's really cool. And two, I feel that the whole, when I was like, oh, are you worried about running out? I think that's foreshadowing for much later. I'm sorry, but I think John's going to do something crazy with that.
That's
and
a fair point.
It's not going to be good for him, but it's going to save the world.
Wow. All right. Leaping ahead here.
Way ahead. This is like two volumes ahead. And then two, I think it really fits his personality.
I think at this point we have to assume that pretty much everything is foreshadowing.
Fair. But I also think it really fits his personality of, oh, he doesn't find himself that valuable, and he finds his friends extremely valuable, and he is willing to sacrifice himself for them. This is a way to do that directly.
Okay, talking about tangents. I'm just going to go on a tangent here for a second. Because this thought just popped into my head.
Cool.
So you know how during the Vital Tournament in Season 3,
yep.
It was very video gamey with their scoreboards, and they had like the aura,
the health, yeah,
the aura amount, and like then when it dipped below like 15 or whatever, they were like eliminated, whatever. So I guess I'd never really thought about it, but I think what my first like naive assumption is that well, everyone has the same aura-ish, and it's just a discrete amount that's chunked down. But it seems more like that would make more sense if that were like a percentage of their aura, right? Which I guess leads to the question is, how do you determine that? How do you, like, there's probably not an answer for this, but like, and you think that maybe someone would have noticed that John has a lot of aura.
Yeah.
If they could, like, actually quantify how much aura someone has, which they would need to do in order to determine aura percentages.
Yes. Or it could have been that it's just everyone needs to take a certain amount of damage before they're just out. Like, it might not necessarily be that, it's depending on their
balancing factor.
It's just normalizing them overall, because in that case, feasibly in that tournament, John could have taken many more hits.
Right, and then the safety factor could be there at 15, like for people who have less aura.
Yeah.
So that... Okay.
It's just a safe margin of, if you've taken this amount of damage, you should be done.
Okay.
It's just generalized across all of them. Although that's an interesting thought, because then that makes it for people who their primary thing is, they have a ton of aura so they can just last a long time, like John. Unfair.
True.
So, I mean, I don't know how much we should really speculate about that, but
that was just kind of something that just popped into my head.
But I do like the idea that people have different ranges of aura, which makes sense.
Seems very clear that they do. Yes.
It very much seems like they do, considering how much punishment one could take in addition to how much they could dish out. So I think that's something that's probably become very relevant later in terms of like, look how much aura these people have. And that doesn't necessarily signify strength. It's how they use that aura and to essentially use their semblance, among other things. Next on my list is Ren getting knocked out of the park by Hazel.
As a surprise, which comes as a surprise to literally no one.
You were very correct. I thought he was going to be going after Leo, but no, he went after Hazel, and Hazel showed him what it means to go after Hazel, which is you get punched, and then you can shoot electricity.
Yeah, and
what?
Ren's scream when he gets shot by electricity, that was kind of terrifying. Yeah. It was like a scream of anguish. And I was like, all right, let's calm down. Jesus.
Yeah, no. I mean, he just got electrocuted.
I know, but like...
Ow.
But yeah.
Quick jump back to the next thing of Weiss is starting to wake up once again. Impressive with her healing. And she's like... And John's like, you need to stay with me. And that's annoying. Good to have you back.
That was cute. That was
a
very
great
wise.
Exchange.
Yes. Right, yes.
And one thing I just want to mention once again about the super healings, that's what, less than 20 minutes? Maybe like 10 minutes.
Yeah, something like that.
To heal a potentially mortal wound.
Well, and it seems like Weiss's aura was completely depleted, as we saw.
Yes. And
it seemed like it was charged, quote unquote, back up to full in that time.
It was. Yeah. Which, that's pretty
it's
impressive.
Pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, once again, the amount of aura, like, who knows? Maybe he's putting a whole bunch of voltage into this tiny little battery. Like, we don't know how much aura Weiss has. We don't know how much he has. Like, also, we don't even know if there's like a classification of aura for how much you can use to dish out or how much you have for physical protection. Like, now we can even get into an idea of aura in terms of their usage for protection. Like, let's say that you have a stamina bar for your aura protection, but then you have a bar for like your mana bar or something like that for how much aura you can use for physical
it's
output.
definitely, to me, it's definitely like a one source of aura. It's definitely not discrete categories.
No, but I have a feeling that in how it's distributed might be different depending on the person, and that one person might not be able to use aura for because
I don't think I believe that. I think.
So wait, so you think when Weiss runs out of aura, she can't use her glyphs anymore? Because that's one hell of a handicap.
Okay, so specifically with Weiss, aren't her glyphs like
dust related?
Well, there's something special going on with Weiss's glyphs. So let's use another example.
Okay.
Like Ruby, like she can't go super speed when her aura is depleted.
Do we know that?
Well, no, that's just the example we were thinking of.
Okay.
I don't know, because there's a split between semblance and aura.
Yeah. This is true.
You know, I'm really not sure.
Yeah.
Because it feels weird.
It does. It does feel weird to have it to think, oh, hey, if you have these people with different amount of auras, how are they distributed?
I'm trying to think of an example where someone runs out of aura, but then they continue to use their semblance. And I guess I'm pretty sure you can still use your semblance when you're out of aura. Because just one example that I could think of, and this isn't a great example, but I'm pretty sure when Crow runs out of aura in his fight versus Tyrion, which is when he's sliding out of the house on the blade.
Yeah.
I've watched that fight a couple times.
Don't blame you.
Then RWBY gets, the beam that falls on RWBY is after that. So that would imply that his semblance is still affecting his surroundings even after his aura is depleted.
Yeah, which gets into the idea of is semblance fueled by aura, or are they separate entities to some degree, or is there different distributions?
That's something that's really hard to speculate on.
Agreed.
And yeah.
I honestly don't even think we're going to know too much about that. The only reason I think we would find out more is through Jon. Yeah,
it's interesting to talk about because suddenly, it's pretty topical, I feel.
It is.
Yes.
Very interestingly, this thing that I honestly hadn't even thought about before.
Right.
Of, oh, hey, how is aura used beside just the way it's been talked about? Like,
what are the exact mechanics?
Yeah, and
talk about nitpicky.
I don't think we're going to find that out in this volume.
Probably
because
not.
We have one more episode.
RIP.
But I think if we do, it would come through something I'm going to talk about later with the fact that you can't imbue Grimm with aura. And 2, through Jon, since if he acts like an aura battery, which, Jon, I'm a big fan, but I'm sorry, you're kind of an aura battery now. Not to make you sound bad or anything, but I'm sorry. You might just be used for the rest of your time. That the best way I think we would be able to quantify aura and see how it's used and other things like that might just be through Jon's semblance, or the best way we can speculate about it.
Right. All right. So then, once Weiss is up, Jon tells Nora that she can go over.
Well, while he just says, "Oh, I got it," when Ren gets knocked out. Well, not knocked out, but punched real hard.
Yes.
Crow too. Oh, poor Crow. And then when Nora jumps in, Hazel's kind of saying, man, once again, little Hazel hating Ozpin and just saying how many children have to die for you.
Specifically before that, he says, you're hiding behind the face of a child,
yes,
etc., etc. How many more children must die?
For you, yeah.
Right.
Which is interesting because, clearly that goes directly toward his sister died for Ozpin in his mind. So he is very, I don't think he really wants to hurt these people. It's just, to him, to stop Ozpin, because he's calling him a monster.
Right.
He believes the right thing to do is to get rid of Ozpin.
Right. And I think we're seeing a very different, moral perspective that I guess that we usually don't see in this series about, because, obviously, usually we're watching from the side of Team Ozpin, the protagonist. But there also seems to be this legitimate argument against Ozpin, or at least that Ozpin has some like flawed facets
Yes.
that I don't think we know enough about to like make a really good judgment of him as a character. And it leaves me wondering, like, how much has Ozpin done? I mean, we know, we've been told that Salem wants to bring around, the destruction of humanity.
Yes.
But Salem's never explained her motives to us.
She
and
hasn't.
I'm not advocating that she's potentially a good guy. I'm just saying that what I like about the villains of RWBY, for the most part, is that they're, and I'll get to that,
Sure.
is that their motivations are like reasonable and like, for example, everyone on Salem's council, they all have fairly reasonable motivations. And I'm like, yeah, it makes sense for you to be there. They're not just generically evil. And so the fact that we've been shown that Salem, is just like evil.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something there. And there's something obviously going on with Ozpin and Ozpin's, goodness that I think we really need to explore and I think is going to be explored coming up. And one thing that reminds me of, a couple things that it reminds me of going off of this is I mentioned this last time, but there are a couple times where in the song specifically, we get another perspective, Salem's perspective.
Yes.
And, well, first related to that is the song I mentioned last time where Team RWBY questions, are we heroes keeping peace or are we weapons? Like, are we just pawns? Which, of course, I mentioned last time.
Yes.
And then, again, Salem's song at the end of Volume 3, Divide.
Yes.
Where she says, have you no shame, signing them up for your war?
Yes.
Train them to fight what they can't beat. Yours are the sins they'll pay for.
Yes.
Which seems to echo a lot of what Hazel is saying.
Yes.
In the earlier episode when he says, their blood will not be on my hands, it'll be on yours.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I want to mention is Salem really a bad guy to the extent that we believe? I have a lot to say about later in regard to that and why Salem, although her methods might not be great,
we're Salem apologists.
How she might not be as bad as it seems.
Okay, we'll get there.
We will.
I'm very interested, but we'll get there.
All right. So, 2 things. Lightning. Nora. What happens when those two mix?
Nora's extremely niche, very specific semblance triggers critically for the millionth time, which is like, all right.
Which you mentioned last time, like, man, her thing is so situational. And then when Nora fired the lightning bolt, I thought, wait a minute. If Nora gets into this, that's really bad for Hazel.
It's just so funny that it's such an oddly situational thing that you'd think would never come up. And it comes up seemingly so frequently.
Yeah, to just kind of make that evident, first Zap then throws Hazel off her, which 1, Hazel's real strong, and we know that.
Yes.
2, Ozpin's like, oh, hey, his semblance is that he doesn't feel pain. Short note. Good semblance for him. Cool semblance. I think it fits his character of like...
It does.
It really does, of no pain, and it makes sense why he's so kind of swagger and kind of confident all the times, like because he doesn't have to care.
Right. His personality is he shrugs things off.
Yeah.
Interestingly, though, like, when I first saw that, I was like, well, clearly not emotional pain.
No.
Because, obviously, like, that's his big weakness, I guess, is that, obviously the Gretchen thing impacts him so much emotionally. Yes. So he may be lacking in the physical, but it seems like he's...
Makes up for it in the emotional.
He's a feely guy.
Yeah. But then Nora, in response, like, oh, I don't need him to hurt. I need him to go down. Points into the far left corner, readies her bat. The ball coming in. Silence. Bam! Wow, the crowd goes wild. Home run!
That was a slick baseball analogy.
I'm sorry, but Hazel got knocked out like a frickin' Babe Ruth baseball.
Okay, it was good up to that part. Good try.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Did you think that line sounded weird?
What? Which one?
When Nora was about to hit her, and she says, I don't need him to hurt.
I need him to go down?
I thought she was going to say die.
No,
I feel like that would have fit a lot.
But she doesn't want to kill anyone.
But... So I feel like that would have felt a lot better. And like, I don't know, at least when I heard it, I auto-completed it in my head as die. Oh. And so when she said go down, I got the impression that like they wrote in die originally, then they were like, oh no, we're going to tone this down.
I don't think so.
That's just the impression. I thought it sounded weird. I thought it sounded
Okay.
like forcefully toned down.
Really?
But
Okay.
that could just be me.
I found it to be pretty natural. Of I just need him
Okay.
to go down.
It's
Like, Nora's not trying to kill anyone, but
Okay.
she does want to make sure that her friends are okay, and that the enemies aren't necessarily doing well enough to harm them. Like she doesn't want to kill them. She wants to make sure they don't get back up for a little while.
Okay, yeah. And then Hazel, of course, goes through the wall.
Yeah.
To the outside.
What's going on over here?
None of your concern.
Yeah, that, and then he pulls more dust crystals out of his pocket and shoves them into his arms like it's no big deal.
Yes.
And fuels himself with the elemental power of electricity and fire, which I'm sorry, I didn't think that he could do that. It makes a lot of sense, but it's just holy bloody heck. What
said.
the heck is gonna, like, well, I don't want to know what happens when he punches someone now. What, you get
Right.
electrocuted and burned? Jeez.
Anyway, back to him going through the wall. Just to spell this out, it's important because, it breaks down the barriers between the inside and the outside. The
Yes.
outside obviously being where Adam and the
Mhm.
White Thing are holding the
Yes.
perimeter. And then we can transition on to our next major encounter.
Mhm.
Before we do that, I just want to mention,
Yes.
and this isn't a real note, but just like Hazel's screams, and I read this in comments, and like it's 100% correct. Hazel's screams sound exactly like the zombies from Black Ops Zombies, Nazi zombies.
That's pretty funny.
They're like so spot on, it's uncanny.
Wow. I might have to go back and listen to that because that sounds interesting.
I'm pretty sure they use like the same voice modifier. Anyway,
One thing before the transition, because I think this helps with the transition, is Ruby surveys the battlefield, saying that bad guys aren't doing too hot right now. They're all out of it. Like everyone's kind of panting and out of it. Oh, one thing, because this annoyed me.
mm-hmm.
Leo had one shot, which shows he was there. That's the only time you ever see him. I don't see him any other time. That I either think the one he runs away or they forgot about him. And if they forgot about him, I
Okay.
don't like that.
Well, I think to be fair, like there were a lot of characters there, and like I'd love to see all of them fight.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know that I would.
Yes.
But you realistically can only spend so much screen time on one character at a time, and they're prioritizing here. Leo
That's-
is probably the least important combatant in this fight,
I agree with that.
and like I wish we could have seen more. Ruby and Yang fighting Mercury and
Yes.
Emerald. I would have loved for them to get like a 5-minute
Yes.
fight scene, but
So my point is not that, oh, I wanted to see them fight. It was that he is a potential factor that arguably does matter that kind of seemed like he got dropped.
yeah,
Which I don't know. I found that odd because it's just, okay, he's an actual combatant that can do a significant amount of damage to some degree. These people aren't out, but he's not acting on it, which either makes me think, one, they forgot, or two, he's also not really trying to kill anyone. But
right. And I think that ties into something that I saw some people complaining about, and like I kind of understand where they're coming from. But during the first part of this episode, for the most part, like in between the fighting, there's a lot of the combatants just like standing and looking at each other.
Yeah.
Which
it's kind of awkward.
I think it's okay. So some people do think it's awkward, but I think it's fairly reasonable because I think it's true that most of the people that are currently in that fight, they don't actually they're not bloodthirsty.
No.
They just want to stop other people from doing certain things.
Yes.
Like, obviously, Mercury and Emerald are just trying to prevent the people from going down to get Cinder.
Correct.
And, like we saw in the previous episode, like, Ruby wasn't actually trying to kill
No.
Emerald, etc., etc. So I think it's, like, they're kind of at an awkward standoff, like, intentionally because of where they are morally.
I agree. Because, and I think that's very highlighted very much with how not barbaric, but how ruthless Hazel is in terms of the way he kind of goes after Ozpin.
Yeah. Well, Hazel, yeah. Because, of course, when Hazel's fighting the other people,
Yes.
I don't want to wish to fight either of you. But
Yeah.
then
He still
Hazel does want to fight Ozpin.
Yeah, he still hits him hard, but he's getting him out of the way. He's not trying, it doesn't seem like to me he's trying to be lethal. He's trying to be lethal against Oz for sure.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like he's overly trying to be lethal against everyone else.
Right, and I think that holds true for
pretty much everyone there.
Pretty much everyone that's left there.
In that room, yeah. I mean, Cinder.
Since Cinder left.
Yeah, Cinder left. Because she's bloodthirsty.
For sure.
Very much so. Okay, now going to the thing you started to talk about, and then I cut you off, and then, well, here we are. Adam, he's outside. And he's saying, oh, don't worry about it, it's fine. And then Blake shows up.
Yay!
Which we knew this was going to happen, but not in this way. It's just, oh my God, I loved when Hazel said, who is that? It's just kind of, it's the reason I like it is because in his mind, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. But to Adam, it matters a lot.
Right.
This is this is a huge reason of why he acts the way he is, in my opinion, and how scarred he is from Blake, and why he's just so frustrated and angry, and holy crud, is this boy angry. This entire time, he's just so angry. I think I wrote down he's angry about 4 times. It's bad. It's really bad.
He is. And can we talk about Adam for a second?
Do you want to do that at the very end, or do you want to do that now? Because I think when we get to the end of the encounter with Adam, that might be the best time.
It's kind of throughout the whole encounter, but I do want to talk about him. So yeah, we can
very
talk
much.
About it at the end.
Oh, I definitely want to talk about Adam.
Okay.
But as I was mentioning earlier, each member of RWBY has some sort of development. In this, we see Blake offering an olive branch to some degree, kind of like stand down.
An olive branch, i.e. she doesn't want to blatantly kill him, is what you're trying to say.
I'm trying to say that she's trying to give him a way out, non-violent way out, as she did with the other faunus that she's encountered from the White Fang, of like, okay, this isn't the right way to do it. Let's try to...
Okay, I just think an olive branch implies reconciliation, which is definitely not what's happening here.
I agree with that.
Okay. Sorry, just clarify.
No, that's fair. I was more saying like a peaceful way out, but you are correct in saying an olive branch is going a little bit too far.
Right, because Blake just doesn't want any of her friends to get hurt. We know that's like one of her driving motivations of why she acts the way she does.
I mean, I don't think she wants necessarily Adam to get hurt if it can be avoided. I see where you argue against that, primarily with a overhand double-fisted smash on the head.
I feel like she probably doesn't care that much, and if she does, she shouldn't.
Okay, I think we can get to that. I'm not.
Okay.
I am biased because I don't like Adam, but we don't know his story.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. Anyway, so Blake finally, for the first time in a million years, faces her. Doesn't run away from her problems.
Very much
actually
so.
approaches her problems.
Very much so.
And Adam's like, you can't stop me alone. Blake's like, I'm not alone.
I'm not alone. She has many reinforcements. And Callie called the cops. Oh man, I was so happy.
Can I just say I didn't even think about that.
You didn't think about calling the cops, yeah.
And that's just like such a mom, like a sensible mom thing to do. It sounds like, I'll come in from the right. Gary's like, I'll come in from the left. Kylie's like, why don't we just call the police?
Yeah, I also
I'm like, oh, good point.
Yeah. I also like how it was the blip.
Yes, which we had heard before when they got picked up.
Yeah. Which was really great because Adam's like, I will not let them ruin blip. And they're like, wait, what the hell? It's like, oh, it's the cops. Oh no, it's the cops. I also like the small interaction between that one guy who was on the White Fang. He's like, wait, that's my friend. It's like, come on.
Oh yes,
that was heartwarming.
Oh man, I don't remember his name right now.
I don't know.
I know who you're talking about. The Ramhorn guy. I can't believe I don't remember it. Anyway, it's not important. But I was just thinking, I mean, it is important. But like there was that one small interaction, but like why do you think they're trying so hard to characterize this one random guy?
I think it's just the general feeling of the faunus on the White Fang side and primarily on the menagerie citizens of, we don't want to fight you, but this is not the right way of trying to gain equality for the faunus. This isn't the way to do it, and we believe that. Like, because they had shields of the old White Fang symbol, which was the more peaceful
that was
way. Good. So it was a nice parallel of, we're trying to end this current view of the faunus and how we need to fight our way through humans and said, no, that's not the way to do it.
Right.
So I think it's just showing that those sides and to show that, okay, the people on the White Fang,
he's just the personification of the people of Menagerie, basically.
Yes, and that they were maybe prepared to even stand down. It was like, wait, that's my friend, my family. As the father said, your brothers and sisters, very accurately.
Yes.
It's the representation of a lot of the faunus.
You're right. And just going back a little bit to when the police showed up.
Yeah.
It caused the fighting inside of the room.
Yes.
To stop for a second.
It
and
did.
Emerald was like, what?
Yeah, they weren't expecting the cops to show up.
No. Like they said, their advantage here was surprise and being unopposed.
Yep.
And now that's pretty gone.
It is. It's completely gone. The cops are here. They don't have Grimm to act as a distraction. They're stuck in this building.
Yes, and
it's looking pretty bad for the bad guys.
Yes, and we'll talk about that.
Oh, most definitely.
Okay.
Let's see. Next, it goes back to Weiss. Oh, feeling better, much better.
Yep. Yes, that's right.
And then that's where I kind of thought, oh, hey, maybe he can amplify his allies, as we see
as
later.
We see, yes.
And then Adam, just so angry, with Blake saying, it's over, Adam. And he's going, no, it's not over. My rage, not done. It's not quelled. And my belief is that Adam does what Adam wants to do, and I believe this is very clearly seen when he tries to hit the bomb.
If it's over for you, it's over for all of us.
Yeah, and the other White Fang's like, what the frick are you doing?
I really appreciate that the other White Fang members are like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
He's like, wait. He's like, what are you doing?
Are you crazy?
It's like, I am trying to make the humans pay for what they did. And I think the end of that sentence is to me. Not to the faunus. To me.
To you specifically, Tristan?
To Adam. Like the end of his sentence.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, it's not what they did to the faunus. It's what they've done to Adam. And that's all he cares about. He wants revenge for his own sake, not for the faunus. Which is why I do not like Adam as a character.
All right, I'm going to talk about Adam now.
Please do.
So when I said earlier that what I liked about most of the villains in RWBY is that they all have good motivations, and they're very understandable and somewhat complicated characters.
Yeah.
The impression I get of Adam is not that at all.
Nope.
Adam to me seems like a very one-dimensional character. Yeah. He only has like one emotion. Anger, or as Blake puts it, spite.
Ooh, right. Ooh, yeah, I like that. Good job, Blake.
And it's just like, I don't know. We know that in his backstory vaguely that the humans, I guess, did something to him. But,
yeah,
it seems like he seriously overreacts to pretty much, I don't know. He's just so angry.
Yep.
And to me, there's just no good explanation for him being the way he is. Just seems generically evil with a very flimsy, relatively backstory. Now, what I can think of is that, so one thing I didn't think of is that he's always going on about, what they did to me, whatever that may be. Cut him in line or something, I don't know. But, but one thing I thought of that could potentially tie into that is maybe Ozpin has something to do with this.
Really?
It's just something that occurred to me because, we know that Ozpin makes a lot of mistakes. We know that Ozpin is a villain generator, basically.
That's an interesting way to put it.
I mean, I was just thinking, Adam talks about how much humanity has made him suffer. Maybe...
You think... okay.
Maybe Ozpin has something to do with that.
So, the only way I can try to support that is that Oz was... It seems like he was very important in influencing how the kingdoms were set up. And the kingdoms are the main ones that led to the segregation between faunus and humans. But
Ozpin is wildly racist, confirmed.
No. But the academies are one of the few places faunus can go.
You're right.
So I don't think Ozpin's to blame. It's possible that something he did led accidentally to an attack on a specific area that happened to be a faunus area, but I have very little.
I just think it would make sense with Ozpin's character
that
arc of
Ozpin
basically
is the seed
constantly
of all
fucking
evil.
up. I don't know. It's just a thought that occurred to me.
Ozpin is accidentally the seed of all evil. Good dang. You know, that's actually very. That's a funny. That's a funny.
And also in the same vein of Adam being like sort of one-dimensional and not understandable in the same way the other villains are, like his split with Blake.
Yes.
Like obviously Blake left him in the trailer. Obviously, way a long time ago we saw that.
Way long time ago.
But like he's just so mad at her. I don't get it. He vows to destroy like everyone that she loves, and
I mean, I see him as a very angry, insecure teenager.
Okay, exactly. Thank you for reminding me, because this is what I was thinking of. To me, what I don't like about Adam is it seems like all of the other villains are well written.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm just shitting on Adam, but
but
it seems like Adam is being role played by an edgy 13-year-old who's trying to be a villain caricature. Like he doesn't really have any motivations other than revenge.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill everyone you love.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like to me that Blake was a very influential part of his life when they were friends, potentially more, probably more, and that betrayal kind of to him felt a lot like whatever happened to him with humans. Like, okay, I want to speculate a tiny bit about what his backstory could be. It's like, okay,
what a surprise.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go on.
Maybe he was really good friends with a human that turned out to betray him. Taken on that vein, next good friend he has, Blake, in his mind, betrays him. How's that going to make him feel? Absolutely horrible. It's going to make him feel like history is repeating himself and that he just hates the world. Like the world is a horrible place that allows this to happen.
I just think he would need, at this point, he needs a really good backstory to explain how edgy he is.
Well, maybe we'll get there. I have a feeling he's going to get incarcerated. So I have a feeling we can find out about his backstory when he's in jail.
The Belladonnas have brought me nothing but pain. All right, I just wanted to say that.
No, yeah.
Anyway.
So edgy.
Anyway, Adam's an edgelord and my least favorite villain. That's
Agreed.
The moral of that story.
I have disliked Adam the entire time. But anyway, bombs got disarmed.
Yay, Ilya.
We did not expect that.
I mean, I kind of thought that it might happen.
Okay, I did not have enough faith.
Yes.
I did not have... I thought that was gonna... Okay. Things are going well right now. I have a feeling something in the next episode will make things get worse. I thought the bombs might have been it. That is wrong, which makes me think it's a lot worse. That is good. I will mention that much later. But
okay.
Just gonna highlight that at the moment that I was not expecting the bombs to get resolved.
But I'm glad they did.
I'm glad they did, but I think it's not going to matter in the end.
That's the spirit. All right, so...
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. We'll get there. So moving on with the episode, after Adam realizes it's pretty much over, he goes for Blake.
Yeah. Who does the phase, and as you pointed out when she was fighting Ilya, this time it looked normal, but when she fought Ilya, it looked different. In my mind, it looked different than like when you compare how she used it this time and last time, it does look different.
I didn't do a direct comparison.
Okay.
So, but
in her fight with Ilya, it's more like a will-o-wisp kind of thing. I mean, not like glowy and all that stuff, but kind of like, oh, hey, a little spurt. While this one, it was a direct blur, 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 blur. It was definitely her outline and such, and like her entire, like, it was definitely like a direct copy.
Right, and I think that's hard to say whether it's like a
stylistic
choice
choice
thing or whether it's an actual thing.
I think you might have been onto something when you were saying that semblance changed with personality, and that when she was fighting Ilya, she was coming from a place of, I'm trying to help you. Wow, and you might have also been correct with, like, she's not that exactly that way with Adam, or is not nearly as much so, because as you saw when she was fighting Ilya, she wasn't really fighting Ilya. Here, she smashed Adam. Just bam, right over the head. Which, by the way,
that was great.
I wish Adam wasn't wearing that mask so I could see his eyes. Because you could see his mouth move, and I wanted to see his eyes as he saw Blake. I'm pretty sure someone he cares deeply about smash him right over the head. Also, great hit, Blake. I'm very happy that you were able to face your past. Very, very. that her development, fantastic.
Yay.
Now,
anyway, Hazel's just watching this whole time.
Oh yeah, it's really great where he's just kind of, Adam turns around, what do we do? Which makes you really think. You're right, he doesn't have that many motivations, he doesn't really have a plan, and he's kind of like, hey, can you help? Hazel's, nah, this is your problem, fix it. And then how, while he's just kind of walking around, he then gets impaled.
Yep. Weiss, new summoning.
I thought that was a Deathstalker at first. I'm like, holy crud. Why summoned a Deathstalker? It got all the way right behind Hazel and just bam. I was going to say, whatever stealth check that Deathstalker rolled, fantastic.
Wow.
But no, instead it was just the amazing Hornet Grimm.
Queen Lancer, I think.
Yes. Oh, yeah, it is called the Lancer, which the fact that she could even make that was pretty cool.
So I think that ties into what we were saying earlier about... So my question here is... Was John directly responsible for that? Because this is a new summoning.
This is a new summoning. So I have a feeling that if you look at the glyph on her hand, it was different than some of her other summonings. So that either could be that, okay, he has physically amped her powers, or since he just brought him back to normal, she can do a summoning, and considering the circumstance, okay, my White Knight, not the best option. Borbatusk, not the best option. What do I need, and what have I seen that has a long range? Lancer.
Right, I guess that's a good point. I wasn't thinking, but yeah, we know she can summon the boar thing.
Yes. So it seems like she'd need to have seen it, fought it, or something along the lines in order to summon it.
Defeated it, presumably.
Presumably. I actually like that.
Because now my memory of this is a little hazy. But back in Volume 4, when Winter's explaining it to the summonings to Weiss, I think she mentioned something about how it's like it has to be like an obstacle you've overcome.
I think you're right.
I
think you might have been right. I also do not recall to that degree the exact wording, but I have a feeling that you are correct, that it has to be an obstacle that she's overcome. And she clearly overcame the Lancer.
So next time she gets to summon Hazel, right?
No. Hazel's not down. Oh my gosh, Hazel's not down. I have theories about what Hazel's going to do. It's bad. Hazel's not down by any means. He's ready to go.
Okay, so Hazel obviously took that hit. It was a big hit from the Lancer.
His face. Oh.
He can't feel pain.
But he just kind of saw it, and he's like,
obviously felt something very guttural.
I mean, I have a feeling he just felt something just went through my... Oh gosh. It's like, I have just been impaled, but I can't feel my pain. Like, imagine that mental feeling of...
Right.
You register that you have physically been impaled, but you don't have the physical... the physiological response of pain of my abdomen and my chest and everything should be dying right now.
And can I just point out that we didn't see him bleeding in any subsequent scenes?
I was also thinking that he's not bleeding. That's frightening to me.
I don't know why that would be.
He's a beast.
He's a robot.
No, he's not a robot. He's not a robot. There's no way. There's no way.
I was kidding, but okay. That's a hot theory.
I don't like it. Okay. Yeah.
Moving on.
Team RWBY notices that Blake exists and is in the vicinity.
Oh, yes.
Those facial reactions, and also that Blake, the first thing she says is Yang.
Yes.
Quality.
Good stuff.
And then Yang starts like, and then my favorite part of that encounter, although very heartwarming, is that RWBY goes, Yang, you gotta go. Yang, this is your chance.
Good job being a distraction, Blake.
No, it's just kind of like, Yang. It's like, RWBY just kind of goes, hey, Yang, you gotta go. And then Yang goes like, got it. Starts going. Emerald freaking out like, oh gosh, please, no. Jumps. Fails.
Misses.
Mercury grabs the already gone arm. And then this is my moment of believing that Yang has grown a lot, which we've talked about a lot of how much we believe. But first initial reaction, anger, and then...
I was going to say the same thing you're currently saying, yes.
It's fine. Detach his arm, goes in. Weiss sets up a great barrier. Dive in.
Right. And you see, like, and I really only noticed this on my subsequent watchings, but, like, you can see her eyes change color from her red, angry to when Mercury grabs the arm.
Yes.
It's like her training kicks in, and she starts thinking clearly.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can see that with her eyes changing. She's controlling her emotions.
Yeah.
And then she's like,
I have more important.
This.
Yeah. And I have more important things to do.
And that's another great example of something that was foreshadowed in previous episodes.
Indeed. And really highlights so far all of Team RWBY's development in their various ways. Continuing on, I like how then RWBY just had to nod to Blake. It's like, we can do this later. There are more important things to do.
We'll talk later.
Yeah, it's just, that's all you need to do. It's just like, don't worry. We'll be fine. All right, now we get to some serious business.
Yep, cut to the vault.
Cut to the vault.
For the rest of the episode, we'll be spending down here.
Yep. Nice, in this nice, dark, somewhat nicely lit, and serious engagements about to occur vault. Vernal, presumably potentially dead or unconscious, over there. One thing I want to point out that I didn't notice until my second time. Remember how Cinder used her nice stretchy arm and then walked over there?
Over where?
Over to where Vernal was and was like right over her.
Uh-huh.
She starts this episode on the other side of the pool where she stretched the arm initially. It is a very minute point, but it's kind of like, wait, she wasn't there last time.
I mean, I assume some amount of time has elapsed, even if it were small. I don't really remember the discrepancy you're talking about, but I believe it.
It was just kind of that Cinder was still facing Vernal, but she wasn't right over her, and I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
because she was by the door when the last episode ended.
Well, I think she probably turns around,
like
and
walks
approaches...
over, then turns around again.
Well, after she realizes Vernal is a decoy, she turns around, she approaches Raven, and she says,
"Yeah,
Vernal was a decoy all along. The former Spring Maiden must have really trusted you, etc."
Yeah, but her back was to her. I mean, this is a very minute point. It was just I think someone forgot.
Maybe. I don't really care that much.
Oh, I don't either. It was just something I noticed on the second time. I was like, wait.
Okay, that's fair.
Because, I mean, there's not that much to it. It honestly doesn't really matter. And I'm sorry I talked about it even to the amount that I already did. But to me, kind of seeing like that little kind of mess up just made me slightly unhappy.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh. For the one note of, the previous Spring Maiden must have really trusted you.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the theory I kind of mentioned a while ago of, maybe it was Summer. I don't know. I don't know if it necessarily holds more water, but I don't necessarily, unless it's a character we don't know or have never seen.
I still like the theory that it's Summer.
I like it much more now.
I think it's good. I don't know if it's true, but I like it.
I doubt it's true, but I like it as well. Mainly because they were on the same team. They were good friends. RWBY's mother, someone I hope we find out more about.
Yeah, and specifically because Raven seems to take that comment like a little bit to heart.
Yeah.
She's like, "You're wrong," or whatever. I mean, she doesn't say that, but like,
no.
That's what her expression says.
Yes. I mean, I don't think it was a mistake. I wanted to ask you, what do you think about that? Do you think whoever the Spring Maiden was, we don't necessarily know who it was before, but do you think it was a mistake to give it to Raven?
Well, no. I mean, I think what's going on here is that Cinder being a crazy, violent psychopath, she assumes that the only way that you acquire the power of Maiden is by viciously murdering the previous Maiden. So that's what she is implying that Raven did to the previous Spring Maiden.
Ooh, I don't think so.
Because
she was saying that she's trusting you.
Yeah, trusted you a great deal, and then which allowed Raven to betray her, is how I interpreted that. Because Cinder's crazy. But that's not actually what happened, because Raven's not as crazy as Cinder.
Yeah.
As crazy.
Okay, and that explains something that I questioned later.
And so what probably happened is that, Raven didn't, straight up murder the previous Spring Maiden.
Let's hope not.
The previous Spring Maiden probably, died tragically, and then the power transferred to Raven, which, Summer theory.
Summer theory. Yeah. Also, one thing I kind of don't like about the summer theory is the spring maiden being summer. Come on. Come on. There's something wrong there.
That's how you throw people off.
That's just too ironic. That's just too good. No. I mean, it makes me like it even more, but no. It just seems so weird to me. Actually, that might have been like the hint the entire time. That would be really funny. The hint, they're just named after the seasons. Just get used to it.
Winter maiden confirmed.
No, but eventually. No, she can't be winter. She's named winter. She has to be fall.
So Cinder.
We're gonna.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
we're gonna get to that.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Anyway. So.
Yes.
Then. Yeah. So they fight.
They do, and I didn't know Raven can shoot swords out of her little thing. That was very slick. Just like pops the sword out, jumps to a grab. I'm sorry, but many of Raven's moves were very impressive. That one, I love that one. It's like, are you ready to engage your enemy? Yeah, it's so good.
This was a good fight.
Very good
This
fight.
was a very good fight. And some highlights to point out.
So many highlights.
Some minor things at the beginning, anyway.
Uh-huh.
One thing that I think is probably worth noting is that Raven's sword changes colors while she fights.
I noticed that as well.
Which is probably just the dust, presumably.
I was thinking that as well.
Yeah.
I was also thinking, oh, it's just different dust swords, but it was so cool to notice.
And I'd also like to mention that it's probably just the dust, but the 4 colors that it changes between, yellow, red, blue, and green,
correct,
seem to represent the 4 seasons to me.
And the 4 maidens, yeah.
Well, yes.
Yes.
By extension, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what they meant by that. It was cool to notice.
It was very cool to notice. I mean, for all we know, that's also the 4 major dust colors. But then again, one of them's white, so
there's a lot going on with dust, and I don't remember all the details.
Very much.
I know there are like a couple main types, then you mix them to get the other types.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no. It's also possible that she wasn't making them out of dust, but she was making them using her spring maiden powers, as we saw.
That's possible too.
Cinder can generate swords out of air.
Right, which is kind of an extension of her. She probably does that because it's kind of an extension of what she does normally.
Yeah.
With like the dust in her clothes or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
where she like makes the shards of glass or ash or whatever.
What?
You know what I'm talking about?
I do not.
Okay.
Please elaborate.
So the way that Cinder uses her, and I'm not sure if this is her semblance or if it's just dust usage or it's a combination of the two. It seems to be a combination of the two, in my opinion.
Okay.
Cinder has dust embedded in her clothes, I believe.
Sure. Okay.
And
please continue.
Do you remember the original Fall Maiden fight?
Not well enough.
Okay. Well, this isn't during that fight.
Okay.
An example of what she does is Amber is risen in the air. She's shooting lightning bolts at people.
I remember that.
Climax of that fight.
Yep.
The way that she gets knocked down
Mm-hmm.
is when Cinder makes all of these ash shards
Okay.
and shoots them at Amber, who's floating in the air,
Okay.
and it knocks her down. And she also does similar. Well, I guess she has the fall. Anyway, the point is, at that point, she doesn't have the Fall Maiden powers.
Okay.
So it's her thing,
Sure.
and she does the same thing in the first episode of Volume 1 when she's in the helicopter, fighting Ruby and Glinda on the roof.
I mean, I felt that was.
She does use the Fall Maiden powers there,
Yes.
but she also does the thing where she makes the spears
I remember what you were talking about. Yeah.
amber, ash, coal. I'm not really sure what it is, but anyway, the point is, the reason that she makes the swords like that, I believe, is because it's basically like an extension of her semblance / normal dust usage / I'm not really sure which one it is.
Okay. So you believe that maybe her ability to make the swords on demand is part of her semblance?
Well, no, I'm saying that she uses her maiden powers to do that because it's a lot like her semblance that she already has, and so that she's familiar with. Because the maidens use the powers in the way that they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
They all have access to all the elements, but we see in the fight, Cinder primarily uses the fire element,
one.
and then Raven primarily uses the
Ice.
ice element. But they can all use them.
They can use all the different ones, yes.
Right.
Okay. A few highlights I want to have is the very first strike encounter that they have, when then Cinder jumps up into the air and then Raven follows and they clash swords, you get a really good view of Cinder with her Grimm arm, her smiling face of kind of, I got the upper hand here, and you can also see like a little bit more of the atomical stuff of the Grimm arm. Like, okay, it has a kind of human-like structure, and how there's the scarring at her elbow is like clearly that's kind of where it was put in and other stuff like that. So I really liked that, like that one little moment, because it really to me highlighted a few different aspects of, okay, there's the Grimm arm, there's Cinder's personality, the eye flares. I really like that. Just that one shot.
And then after the first clash, or so, somewhat importantly, Raven says, well, that some of the debris gets caught or something embedded in Cinder's arm, and she's like, ah! And Raven's like, your aura can't protect you. It's Grimm.
Well, it can't protect the arm specifically.
Yeah, it can't protect the arm.
Which is pretty interesting, because it means Grimm theoretically can't use aura.
Right.
Yeah, which probably pretty beneficial to humans. But on a different note, the next line from Raven is, you turned yourself into a monster for power, and then Cinder responds, look who's talking. Which I was really confused about, because I wasn't really sure what she was talking about. My initial thought was, oh, you would almost willingly sacrifice your friends, like for Null, to hide the fact that you were the Spring Maiden. But if your theory was correct, like, oh, she believes Raven just flat out killed the Spring Maiden, that would line up as well.
I mean, there's that, and there's also, I mean, Raven does, especially if you don't know all of her motivations, Raven definitely does some cruel things, like letting her daughter get her arm cut off, and
we have discussed.
Yeah, exactly. But I know we've discussed that in the past, but I'm saying from Cinder's perspective.
Okay. From an outsider's perspective, that might seem pretty messed up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's fair. Wait, does she know that Yang's her daughter? I don't know how much that connection is known.
That's a good question. There's a lot of degrees of knowledge in this situation.
Yes.
And one of the things that has to happen at some point is everyone just needs to, like,
sit down and have a talk.
Catch up for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, a little bit more than probably 45 minutes.
That's a good, I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't either.
Let's shelve that for now.
Yeah.
Or
put that on the shelf for now, and then I want to bring up a theory that might be a tangent. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, so the idea that humans can use aura, Grimm cannot, but that arm takes kind of an anatomical feel. It's kind of like, okay, maybe that was just designed for a human. My thoughts are that, one, Grimm and humans are apparently compatible to some degree. Now, that's either through some magical work of science and Salem, that they're able to mix a Grimm and human together, and it's just a weird science project. Or
you're right, yeah.
Salem. Like, we were talking about how Salem might not be as bad as we think. I think maybe Salem is... So, it appears that Salem makes the Grimm, right? Or that it's a theory that Salem creates the Grimm.
Just to some degree. She definitely has some degree of control over them in their creation, probably.
So, it's known that Grimm evolve. They evolve over time and eventually gain their own sentience, and they no longer just simply ravage the land and blatantly attack humans.
Right, you're saying
the Goliath.
What they said in...
This was volume 2?
Some volume?
Yeah.
Yeah, volume no, but it's mentioned that the older Grimm, they get smarter.
Yep.
Exactly, right.
What if Salem is an evolved Grimm? And that to some degree she's simply fighting for her own race's viability, acts as their leader, and because when I first saw Salem, I thought Grimm woman.
Wow.
Flat out, I just thought Grimm woman.
That's a really good theory.
Okay.
I think.
One other thing.
No, that's worth talking about.
Okay.
I don't know. I never thought of it like that. I think that's a really interesting perspective to consider.
Because it would make sense then maybe why humans, like some humans would maybe work with her. I mean, for Hazel, it's clear why he's on her side. But maybe for some of the others, it's not as clear. Like, I kind of question why the scientist, I forget his name, Watts. Why Watts is there. We don't know too much about him, but I've always wondered, why is he there? Maybe it's just, she gave him a chance, and is letting him do like a whole bunch of work. But he doesn't seem like a person that's the only reason why he would potentially want to end the world.
Right.
And since that's the only view we've gotten from, why Salem's doing her thing, it seems like she probably has there's a much better goal in mind than just the end of humanity.
What I figured from Watts is that his motivation is that society rejected him for his work.
Sure.
For probably work on Grimm is my theory.
Not a bad one.
And then he's probably in the all right, fuck you society stage of being a mad scientist. And so he's kind of like, that's why he joined Grimm. But it would make a lot more sense if Salem was a Grimm, then, because he would be like, heck yeah, I want to study this.
Yeah.
Because it's like the ultimate Grimm sentience.
Indeed. Yeah, so, and on that note, I have a slightly different theory of that, as we know, Grimm are attracted to human negative emotion. So I was thinking maybe Grimm are also like shadows of humans, kind of, to the degree that they are almost spawned and creative due to the horrors that humans do, and as a result they come back as an actual physical manifestation and goes against them. That was the second theory I've had, like, hey, maybe some stuff about Grimm. But in general, I kind of feel that to some degree, humans and Grimm are not nearly as different as we believe them to be. Like,
that's really interesting.
Like, we have it so that, these Grimm have the appearance of animals, which humans see animals as inferior most of the time. But animals evolved into humans. Like, we come from various different...
Yes, you're right.
Like, we come from those, what we consider more basic life forms. So what's to argue that Grimm aren't the same way? And that they are just a different line in evolution on a very different track. And I have one more theory, but we will get there when we get to the portal.
Sorry. And I'm just thinking about this further, and we could stop after this, but what if, I'm thinking, what if Ozpin knows this, and it's something he's trying to
hide?
Oof. And, I mean, that could be part of the reason why Grimm experimentation is illegal. Like, what are they trying to hide?
Yeah. And one more thing I guess I want to bring up is, if Ozpin is presenting the fact that, Salem is this evil being that wants to destroy humanity, does that mean he's part of humanity?
Ozpin?
Yeah. Like, is he simply doing it because he doesn't want maybe the people he has been on the side of the entire time, or the side he prefers, to perish?
That's a tough question, because we don't know how Ozpin got his powers.
Yes. And it's assumed that he distributed them to people, which I'm kind of wondering, and this just popped into my head, if maybe they're all derived from the same source. Ozpin stole some, and then they were forcefully taken from him, and he's trying to get them back.
From the maidens?
No, maybe from Salem.
From Salem.
Yeah, using the maidens.
Oh, this is convoluted.
This is way too convoluted, and I think we should stop here in terms of that.
We should, but that was a really interesting train of thought.
I have a feeling that next episode will help put us on a path of some sort of theory, and all of those might be bogus.
All right, let's...
to just put one little thing. I also don't like pretty much any of those theories. They're just ones that came to my head.
Oh, I think they're good. I like them a lot.
Oh, thank you. I actually hope it's something completely different. But
Okay. All right. Anyway, back to the fight, which we got like 30 seconds into.
yeah.
So,
Sorry.
no, it's fine. One thing that I noticed also was that there's one point where like they switch weapons.
That was so cool.
It's really confusing. I had to watch that part like 4 times. Cuz like they switch weapons and then like they
Cinders,
also switch back a couple seconds later.
Yeah.
And like
It was sick.
it's sick.
It was.
But like
oh my gosh,
it's
that
also
entire fight.
it's also kind of surprising to me that like Raven like lets go of her weapon. I don't know. Yeah, okay. It's fine. Rule of cool.
As it got so epic as soon as Cinder started dual wielding, it was just, this is the moment where I am serious.
Right. And I just want to
they
say,
just jumped around.
I've only seen the first like 2 episodes of this anime, but it just made me think of.
It was very anime-esque.
Oh yeah, let me get to that in a sec. But I made me think of Infinite Blade Works, which
Yeah.
I haven't seen, but like I know that that's the concept.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's the image I got from Cinder when she keeps
Yeah.
like pulling out swords.
Yeah. No, you mean Raven. When Raven just keeps pulling out swords. Or-
Cinder.
I mean, Raven does too. They both do.
Well, I don't think Raven actually makes any of her own weapons. She uses her sword.
Oh, you think all those were in stock the entire time?
What? No. Wait, hold on. What are you talking about?
I'm
'Cause
talking
Cinder-
about how she just keeps reloading her sword.
With like dust?
Yeah, she keeps grabbing more sword blades. How Raven does. Like, remember how they keep changing colors? It's because they keep breaking. Her swords break throughout the entire fight.
I don't think Raven's actual sword breaks.
No, Raven's swords break throughout the entire fight.
I don't think they do.
I think they do.
I don't think they do.
Okay.
Cinder's swords break. I mean, so there's a lot going on in this fight.
Okay.
And it wouldn't surprise me if I was wrong, and it wouldn't surprise me if you were wrong.
Yes.
Because there's so many explosions and shatter effects, and
Yes.
there's a lot going on. And what I saw from the fight,
Uh-huh.
and I could be embarrassingly wrong, is that Raven's sword doesn't break. All the breaks are Cinder swords.
Okay.
It's confusing because, they switch weapons and
Sure.
whatever. But Cinder's the one that keeps making all these weapons. And
Okay.
Raven doesn't actually make any.
Okay.
She loses her sword temporarily, then gets it back. Well, except for the big ice one, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. I personally think that she either...
Because that doesn't make sense. If her sword's like shattering and then she's like
They keep-
reloading it.
Yep.
That doesn't make any sense.
It does.
It doesn't.
It does.
No.
She has an entire stock of them.
That's so dumb. Why would you do that?
Well...
In case your sword breaks. No, that's dumb.
No, I mean, part of it is... Okay, this is going off like actually Infinite Blade Works. Where there's a specific character that pretty much he can spawn weapons. And he can just keep spawning them.
Yes.
So it's kind of similar to... And it's like you can just keep reloading a different blade. Okay.
Okay, I don't think that's what happened.
I think they both cycled weapons, but let's just
move on.
table it.
Okay. Whatever. Anyway, so then we get this top 10 anime battles moment.
Where it's just, oh, okay, I'm going after they've reached the peak of their hitting each other and just giant orbs of, well, not giant orbs, but rocks start forming around Cinder and flames, and then with Raven, it's a whole bunch of ice, and oof, it was so pretty. And then they just converge their powers into one giant sword.
I just want to say that was so anime that like I actually rolled my eyes a little bit.
Oh, I liked it.
I thought it was a little like, really?
Aw,
That's a little cliche.
Oh, it's extremely cliched.
Yes.
Oh, very much cliched.
I rolled my eyes, but
I liked it.
That's acceptable. It was cool.
It was really cool.
But I was also like, all right.
I also really think it shows part of their personality is in the way that the sword took shape. Like Cinder's was this giant rock volcano-y, just lava-filled, like giant. It wasn't like super designed. It wasn't very elegant. It was just power.
Right.
Raw, volcanic, explosive power.
Uh-huh.
Raven's, on the other hand, is this nice, stylized sword. I felt it was a very nice parallel between the two of how they chose their sword to take shape.
Right. And, I mean, yeah, just going off of that, like, their use of the elements throughout the whole fight, the way that Cinder uses fire and Raven uses ice, that very much shows what you're saying about the personalities. Like, you know, Cinder's like a 10-year-old playing Pokemon for the first time. She's like, oh, fire's the strongest. Why would I use anything but fire? Whereas Cinder...
That's funny.
God, said Cinder twice. Whereas Raven is intelligent and... Now I'm hating on people who use fire types in Pokemon. No, but whereas Raven's like calculating and intelligent and cunning, which is why she like, you know, it's part of why she uses her element, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can go on now.
All right. Going on to after the hit and then the earth-shattering results. Like, oh, hey, you clash swords, and then you have the whole classic, oh, hey, now the upper area shook as a result, which is something we kind of mentioned, like, oh, hey,
you mentioned
what
that.
are the earth-shattering results going to be? And it wasn't that bad yet.
Nope.
Emphasize on yet.
So then in the dust, of course, Raven's vision is clouded momentarily, and Cinder takes advantage of this moment to...
Yeah, she tentacles out her nice, stretchy Grimm arm.
And siphons some power.
Yes, which...
Very importantly.
On contact, it was able to start siphoning maiden powers, which goes back to the theory that they might be one of, like, of the same vein. It's like, okay, you just simply touch the person. It's like, okay, I'm going to start taking the powers that you have within you.
Well, yeah, we saw that the first time it happened, too.
Yes, but to me, it felt like more was like, okay, there's this Grimm that's just doing that. It's like, okay. Which, in this case, it's also kind of just that. But to me, it kind of felt like that maybe that other Grimm was more specialized for that. Like, I kind of had a feeling, oh, maybe you have to actually get physically inside. Like, she stuck her claw right inside of Vernal. Like, okay, maybe you have to actually, like, get access into, like, some sort of core to be able to just start taking it. But no, you can just grab them.
Yeah.
Which I found to be very, in my opinion, telling of how the Grimm powers and Ozpin's, assuming it's even Ozpin's.
Right.
Like, maybe he's masquerading himself as that wizard dude. Holy crud. This is getting bad.
Oh, everything is convoluted.
Everything's getting so freaking convoluted.
All right.
But no, also she took some spring powers.
Yeah.
Cinder is now
maiden, that's what I meant.
With like a small chunk, a small little
apparently
chunk
not a whole
of
lot.
Spring. Oh, I highly doubt almost any.
But yes, that's the point. Yes.
Yeah. And then Ravenslet looks up. It's like Her face was kind of cruel when she's like, "Hey, ice." And Cinder's like, "Oh, hey, what?" And Cinder's like, "Why did she?"
Yep.
That facial expression was fantastic.
And that, of course, is a great example of Raven being a strategist and thinking clearly.
Yes. But, oh my goodness gracious, I just can't get over Cinder's face. It's just, oh, that's a big rock.
And then we go into what is pretty much the climax. Well, I don't know, it's a long fight. One of the most exciting parts of the fight.
Yes.
And excitingly, that's when the song starts playing, right?
Yes, you are correct. Where they start jumping around on rocks,
on the falling rocks.
Each other. That was so cool.
Yeah,
they're just my favorite moment of that fight. Might have been just using ice as a path. Raven dodges one of Cinder's slashes and just has that moment where it just pans right across her, and then she turns and hits. That dodge was so good.
That was good. There's so much going on in that sequence so quickly. I've watched it like 3 times, but.
So
I feel like there's a lot that I've missed in that in the whole sequence, personally.
Okay.
That's
fair.
But yeah, there was a lot going on, and it was great. And talking about the song.
Oh yes.
I don't know if you've noticed, but one of the things I enjoyed most about the RWBY series is the music, and I pay particular attention to it.
Typically, there's some foreshadowing in it.
Yes, the RWBY songs are very much a narrative for the show.
Would you like to read off some of them, or would you like me to read off some quotes from the song?
You can go for it.
Okay.
I'll let you. Yeah, take this one.
Here's where you die. No one will miss you. Sing your one song.
Swan song.
Oh, it was Swan Song?
Yep.
Oh, I thought it was your own song. Oh, okay, got it. And then embers extinguished. If that's not telling to a very specific character. Like, oof. Oof.
Yeah, and I think, I just want to mention this briefly, because obviously this is jumping ahead to the end of the episode. But that is part of the reason why I believe that Cinder is dead.
Okay, I do not.
Because as soon as that happened in the song, this is the end, here's where you die.
Yep.
As soon as I heard that, I was like, all right.
Oh gosh, someone's dead.
Cinder's dying here.
Okay.
And to me it was
you instantly assumed it was Cinder?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. To me, actually, I kind of like took all the suspense out of the fight for me, because I was like, oh, well, now I know what's going to happen.
Nice.
Because to me, that song is obviously, well, I don't know if it's obvious, but it's very specifically, it's Cinder's song.
It is.
It's Cinder's death song.
It might be.
And I really appreciate that, because like I've mentioned, I really like the villains in RWBY.
Yes.
Like I've said multiple times this episode alone, I really like the villains in RWBY.
Yes.
And, we'll get to this later, but, I'm going to miss her.
Okay, I personally don't think she's dead. So when we get there,
are we getting? I think we're almost there at this point.
We're almost
right?
there. We are at the hey, if you're smarter, you would watch your back. And Cinder's like, what the frick? Gosh, no, it's a Vernal. And
that was a great touch.
Vernal, last ditch effort, pulls trigger, Cinder blocks.
Raven head zap.
Jump. Charges up hand, electric force palm, hits over the edge. That was bad. That was just oof. When she was going over the edge, I'm like, oh no. I was like, oh wait a minute, and then calmly walks to the edge.
Cinder's falling. Her mask is gone.
Cinder fall.
Oh yeah, let's just get that out of the way right now.
Let's get out of the way.
Get it? Because her name's Cinderfall.
And she's the ball maiden, but she's falling. Oh my gosh.
Fell. The episode. It's called Downfall.
Oh, it's just so much.
Nice one, Roosterteeth.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. I get it.
Two things. You can see that the mask breaks and that her eyes closed and that there's scarring there.
That was good.
Something we've talked about is that she might have a Grimm eye.
Seeing that, I don't think she does.
She didn't open her eye, though.
Yeah, it looks like it's like scarred shut or something. Like fused shut.
I don't think so, and I have a theory about that, but we'll get there.
Okay. The impression that I got from that is that she's just scarred.
Okay.
And I liked being able to see her real face there.
Yes.
Because we hadn't seen it,
No, that was the first time we've seen her real face since volume. Well, we never actually saw her whole face because her hair used to cover part of it.
Well, that doesn't really count. It does, but whatever.
Does.
Anyway, but that was...
Also her facial expression, and when the embers died out in her eye.
Yes.
And then she got frozen. Oof.
That was a good moment of her being, laid bare.
Yeah.
And then, yes, as she's falling some interminable distance, apparently.
Yeah.
Raven freezes her.
And then
she goes down.
Yeah, which, if that hole is actually endless... Weird.
I don't think it's actually endless.
I don't either.
That wouldn't make a lot of sense.
And also, but yeah.
So, is Cinder dead?
All right. I'm glad that that's where we're at. Okay. Is Cinder dead? You believe yes. I believe no.
So I think it would be insulting to me if Cinder was still alive at this point.
Okay.
Because the song, I think, pretty clearly spells it out.
Okay.
And also, that was pretty conclusive. I think that Cinder dying is narratively, it's a very good conclusion to this fight, and it's a good conclusion to this arc, almost, I guess.
I don't disagree that her death would be a good capstone.
I think that's what should happen.
Okay.
And I would be insulted if they let us on this hard with her dying, but she actually like came back. I'd be like, but why though? Like, why did you do that?
Okay. Are you ready for a few theories of why I think she's alive?
Yeah, go for it. I mean, I know. Okay, I'll comment, but you go.
She's got a Grimm inside of her.
Yeah.
Even if her fall powers are gone, that might be able to make it so she can get out. And why I think that's important is, and why the Grimm Eye might be important, is I think her Grimm Eye opening is significant of like the powers of Grimm inside of her also awakening to their full potential. And by that...
that'd be cool.
So, you brought a good point of maybe Cinder's dead. It's possible Cinder as an entity might be dead, but I believe that the Grimm inside of her might be able to take her over.
Okay, I'd actually accept that, because that's essentially a character death.
Yes. So, to a degree, Cinder's personality would be completely gone, and she would be replaced by a Cinder Grimm thing.
That's cool.
That is controlled by Salem, or has its own personality, and maybe, to the point, could be how a Salem-esque entity was created.
Huh.
In terms of, it was human, but it turned into Grimm because it was part Grimm. And then they they formed a symbiotic relationship, and then that's how something like Sam was created, and that can happen with Cinder.
Huh.
That's theory one.
That's cool.
Yes. Yes.
The only comment I would have about that is that would she still have the powers then?
Fall power? I'm going to get to that.
Okay, keep going.
I have a different theory of what the Grimm's going to do, but that was my primary theory was she's going to be fine because either she'll be able to use her fall powers because Raven was able to use her spring powers to get out of the ice, but she might be fairly depleted, which is why you would argue she couldn't do that.
Right, their auras broke, which I think is something that we didn't explicitly mention, but we saw both of their auras break.
Which I don't think matters with spring and fall powers.
No, it doesn't, but I'm just saying that they're both very susceptible at this moment.
Very susceptible to damage.
Right. And her aura broke before Raven heads after her.
Yes. Alrighty. I think Cinder's backstory has not been explained enough for her to die. I think there's more to Cinder that we need to learn. And it's possible we can learn that through Mercury and Emerald, which is why if Cinder dies, it doesn't matter. But...
can the next volume just be flashback episodes?
That'd be pretty great. Okay, moving on. Neo fell. There's no corpse. Where's the corpse? We need a corpse. Otherwise, I don't think she's dead.
Okay, that's very different. Because Neo, had her umbrella, right? Or she didn't have the umbrella then?
I don't think she had the umbrella.
She didn't
Oh, wait, maybe she floated down? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's very different.
That might be very different. I just have a feeling that...
No, yeah, she had the umbrella because what happened was Ruby was on the edge of the ship, then she opened the umbrella, which blew Neo away.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's different enough for me to get rid of that theory.
Sorry, go on.
And then last theory. It's too frickin' ironic. Her name's Fall. To die from fall damage? Come on. It's way too ironic. I love it.
No.
But that's ironic.
That's called hubris. Because as Raven kind of revealed when she was, having that roast sesh a couple episodes ago.
You're right. Oh gosh, what if that was foreshadowing for this moment? No.
She's like, and a fall maiden with a name so perfect that she probably picked it herself. Cinder's just so Cinder that she picks the fall maiden name and it ends up being
she dies by falling
down.
Fall. All right. Okay. Hypothetical scenario, although you believe it to be true. If Cinder dies, where are those powers going?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I think, and I read this in a lot of comments, and I think it's very true. So the first part is where are the powers going, which, putting that aside just for a brief second, more importantly, the powers that Cinder stole from Raven, if she died, should return to Raven.
Yeah, I would believe so.
We didn't see that happening, which is the biggest thing in my mind, the biggest thing against Cinder dying.
I mean, she's not dead yet. She's falling actively. I don't think being frozen would kill her.
Right.
Hitting the ground and being frozen and shattered, that would kill you.
Yes, you're right. I mean, it's kind of arbitrary. We don't really know how long she's gonna fall. Whatever.
Yeah.
She's gonna
Ever fall. Forever fall. She's forever falling.
Oh,
This would be
foreshadowing.
horrible. No,
Okay,
that's not
we're
foreshadowing.
stopping here.
We're
No,
stopping.
anyway, I guess we still have to see, like, in a couple minutes what happens.
Yeah. So that's why I think the theory of, okay, she's going to become Grimm Cinder and be able to, like, claw her way out. Okay, actually, I'm going to stop right there because I have more to say about that when Yang shows up. But
Okay.
but I think primarily if she does die, the powers are going to Emerald. 1. That's theory 1.
Emerald, you think so?
I do. 2. Unlikely, but if anyone that's female, like either that or Salem, but I don't see it going Salem.
You don't think that in her last thought she was thinking about RWBY? Because she has a pretty strong, like, vengeance desire for RWBY. And I could picture, like, her last regret being that damn kid. Or, you know, it could also be Raven, because Raven froze her.
Like, I don't like this theory simply because I don't want Team RWBY to be all
the
for
maidens. Yeah,
I really
that's
don't
kind of
want
contrived.
that. I really don't like that idea.
I don't either.
But I can see it happening, which is the issue.
I mean, it makes sense.
It does, unfortunately. Moving on. I think the other option is that Cinder has a Grimm inside of her, and it seems like that's the way she holds the powers. Why can't it just leave with the powers?
Wait, what do you mean?
Like it chest spurts out of her, crawls back to Salem, and it's like, I got the spring powers.
Wait, you think that the maiden powers are being held inside the Grimm?
Yes. And that Cinder has access to them through the Grimm.
Huh.
Yeah. And in which case...
So to me, that at first thought, I'm like, that's dumb.
Yes.
But, I mean, thinking about it, you know...
Cinder uses after they're not useful.
No. Specifically, the way she gets the powers, obviously, she absorbs it through the Grimm into her body, and then it seems that's when she gets her tattoo.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, it's not a tattoo, it's more of a mark.
Mm-hmm.
But, so, like, I could almost believe that, like, the powers, and, like, that's how they bypass the whole power transfer mechanism normally, is that the powers are actually being held in, like, by some sort of Grimm element.
Yeah. And that Cinder has access to it through that.
Right. And
Like
they're,
it
like,
could-
bound by the tattoo mark thing.
And it could also be like an organ, where it's like, okay, I have some way of connecting to this organ, and it has some way of interacting with me, but...
Wow, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, now that I think about it, there's a lot about Cinder that we don't know.
No, there's very much, which is part of the reason why I don't think she's dead, because there's more to learn about her. But it can be learned through other people, which is why she can get written off.
Flashback episodes.
Yes. Also, I think that if it does happen, like if we notice nothing with any fall powers or Cinder doesn't show up, I have a feeling the end of episode 14 will reveal what happens to Cinder. And if that's the case, I'm pretty sure it's either Grimm comes out of her with powers.
That's a good.
Or someone kills her down in the caverns.
Ooh.
And takes them further himself.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
And
so
I like that a lot, and I can explain why a little later.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're not going to know what happens to Cinder until the very end of next episode.
I like that. Yes.
Alrighty. Are you ready to... Oh, also Vernal's dead.
Oh, yeah. That was sad.
That was sad. I liked Vernal. I wanted to know more about her. She was interesting. She died. Although she did die for a cause she believed in, so good for her.
Yeah, and just to go off of that, I don't think we've really mentioned enough. I just want to mention briefly about, since Vernal is gone now, how great she was to go in there. Because, you know, now that we know from the previous episode that she was the decoy, you got to think about, like, how brave she was to take that role, take that burden on from Raven, basically cover it for her, despite knowing the risks of being the maiden. Like, presumably she knew that people would come after her, and that there was a pretty good chance that she would ultimately lose her life. And she really didn't have to. But, like you said, she did it for what she believed in. She really believed in the tribe. and she gave her life for it. And I just wanted to mention that because, I didn't want to bypass her death too quickly because she did die.
Yeah, it is the end of a life, and I want to play devil's advocate for 1 sec. And from Cinder's point of view, it was probably that she manipulated Vernal into do that well. I mean, if you want to view Raven in that light, you can, but I would agree with whoever would say that Raven cares for her family, and frankly, that Vernal believed in what she was doing and died for a cause that she believed in, and Raven, if it could have been avoided, would have probably rather her live. Alrighty. Speaking of Raven, and I don't know, being the Spring Maiden and all, there's kind of a door that she's supposed to touch.
Yeah, so I guess at the very end of this episode, Raven finally is all alone in that room, and she goes up to the door, touches it, being the Spring Maiden.
Yes.
It starts to light up, the leaves fill with light.
Yep.
And then the fans of the door start to open.
Yeah. What did you think of that door's design?
Oh, it was cool. I mean, I watched that scene like 3 times, and every time I saw it, I was like, because right after that, it's the credits where it's like, the door has fans.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I see that.
Yes.
No, it was really cool. And obviously the vines are like, they're springy and naturey, and yeah, cool design.
Yeah. Alrighty. Now for the main topic of this whole scene. There's a portal there that is clearly not the same room. And
you're putting 2 and 2 together, yeah.
So my question is not where, it's when.
Okay, my question was definitely where.
Okay, my question is when.
Okay, I think you're like probably a couple steps ahead of me.
Okay.
So do you want to start with where, or would you rather go to when?
Let's go with where, because when is more complicated.
Okay, so when I first saw the portal, my first thought was like one of those Final Fantasy dungeons that like drops you into like an alternate sort of dimension, and that's clearly
that's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like, right? Because the door is floating and it's like surrounded by an ethereal mist, and not only that, but the so there are these like pads of rock that lead up to what is pretty obviously the artifact.
Yes.
And the artifact seems to be like some sort of diamond, if I remember correctly.
I thought it was more of an oddly shaped flask kind of thing where there's a stopper on top.
I didn't really get a good look at it.
It was hard to get a good look at it.
To me, it looked like it was some sort of like glassish see-through diamond, and the bottom part was like, was it green or blue?
Oh, blue.
Blue.
Yeah,
okay, yeah, right. Blue. It was blue. Anyway, the steps leading up to it, there was like this weird anti-gravity magic thing going on.
Yes.
So it looked pretty otherworldly.
Very much so. In terms of, it seems like it could potentially be another dimension. The only reason why I bring up a question of when is simply because Oz's powers seem to be somewhat time related. So in my opinion, it seems like he might have almost time locked an area with the relics in it.
Oh, that's interesting. You're right, because Ozpin's powers are obviously clock themed.
And it seems like if you go out of the portal and if you were to ignore the relic and just turn left and then look left, it expands into what is technically the rest of that room, and it's all desert. So it's either other dimension or it's another it's a spot in time, which
okay, so you're saying spot in time, but like it still has to be a physical space.
Yes.
So I'm sure you have thoughts on that.
I do have thoughts. It's more on of the other dimension aspect in terms of that makes more sense, because since it seems like that room expands greater than the simple square that the relic is in, it would make you question, wait, it can't be somewhere else in time, because then how can you be in 2 different timelines at once? But if you were to enter that, I believe you would then enter that time area, and then you would no longer be in the one before, so it actually doesn't conflict. But
that's interesting.
Although that pretty much parallels a other dimension, because for all intents and purposes, another time is another dimension.
I guess you're right, yeah.
And then now I have a crazy theory, Ben.
Go for it.
I don't like this theory. And speaking of theories I don't like for one moment, thinking about it a bit more, the Salem Evolved Grimm is not nearly as bad as I initially thought, and by bad I mean how much I like it. I like it a little bit more now.
That's good. I'm glad.
Thanks. But back to the other dimension. Silly thought.
Go
What
for
if Grimm are from another dimension? I think it's a silly thought. I don't think it's true. I don't want it to be true because that would just make me sad inside. And it would make me think that Oz is like, he's made a lot of mistakes. It's like the greatest mistake he made was let Grimm into the world or something like that.
Huh. That's a cool thought. Yeah, I was gonna mention that a little bit later, but what we've seen about Grimm creation is that the best, we've seen it twice, I believe. The first, well, not the first one, but one of them being at the beginning of Volume 4, Episode 1, where we see the Grimm rising up from the pool of bubbling ooze, which is how it's put actually in the song Lucis Naturae, which is the Grimm Eclipse song.
Okay.
And then also when there was the dragon Grimm and the Grimm spawned from the pools.
Wyvern.
Apologies.
No, it's fine. It's just, I remember on the very first episode, I didn't correct you because I didn't think of two, but...
Oh, okay.
But Wyvern, and...
I will try to say that in the future.
No, you are completely fine. So many people call it dragons, not an issue.
Okay. So, yeah. So, it could be the case, but it's kind of hard to say. But... that being said, we were talking about earlier how we suppose that Salem has some power of creation or some power over the Grimm, but we haven't actually seen her, create any Grimm.
This is true. We've only seen her have some sort of control over them, which kind of reminds me of like Kiergan Zerg-esque thing of hive mind kind of thing, which would go back to the idea of, oh, she's an evolved Grimm.
Right.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about this,
or human Grimm hybrid.
While we're back to this Salem Grimm theory, there was just one thing that I was thinking of before that I didn't get to mention, and it was something about the Grimm Eclipse game. Mm-hmm. So that game's supposed to be canon, right?
For the most part, the only John semblance in that game's not canon, but
right, yeah, but the plot.
The plot is supposedly canon, yes.
So I don't know. I'm just thinking about Dr. Merlot and. I'm just waiting for him to show up in this main series because I think he could have a role to play because I think that someone like Dr. Merlot would definitely be of interest to someone like Salem. It's not like someone that she would overlook, specifically because, he's experimenting with Grimm and that's what she's all about. Mm-hmm.
Maybe...
And Salem loves using people.
That's true. I mean, she currently has Watts. Maybe Merlot said no. Maybe Merlot... is on his own agenda. Maybe he's in hiding after the game. Maybe she doesn't like how he mutated Grimms and thinks oh, he's a waste of time, actually. The way he's doing it's not beneficial. Because a lot of the mutated Grimms were self-destructive. They were suicide bombs. The Death Stalker in the end, I'm sorry if that is a spoiler, is... look forward to fighting. It's fun. That the Death Stalker at the end, the mutated Death Stalker is the best example of mutated Grimm. It's best, but it kind of just seems like a normal, just a bigger Death Stalker with some kind of cool green stuff coming out of it, which I can see if Sam were to see him you didn't really do much better than the normal.
Well, and the reason that I was thinking that Dr. Merlot might have a role to play is just that we haven't seen Salem create any Grimm.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe that's part of Dr. Merlot's role. Or maybe he's somehow connected with that. I don't know, it's just a thought. I'm just thinking about him because you mentioned the Salem Grimm thing, and I'm waiting for him to pop up because I think he will. That's all I have to say about that, really.
It'd be pretty interesting if he does show up. I guess the only thing I want to add is that he doesn't make Grimm. He captures them and then messes with them. I wasn't sure if that's what you were trying to argue, if he was synthetically making Grimm, which I don't think Salem is either. It seems that they spawn from whatever mechanism they spawn from, and I kind of feel like it's fueled by human negative emotions, but that's
probably.
it adds speculation up the wazoo, but who knows? Would you like to move to the fact? Do you want to talk about the relic at all?
Oh yeah, there's still lots to talk about.
Yeah.
One thing that I was thinking that I thought was kind of weird, it's kind of ironic in a sense. So it's the spring maiden's relic, right?
Desert,
exactly.
desert.
You know, in the container where the door is, it's this big blossoming tree.
Yep.
So why is it in the middle of a barren desert? What gives?
I mean, that's why I think it's the whole other dimension or time thing, because it's very drastically different. 1, 2, I think the relic is not the glass, it's whatever's inside, and that thing kind of looks like water. So I think it's
the relic was friendship.
No, so I think the parallel is kind of like, oh, hey, it's this water surrounded by desert. Like, it's the ultimate treasure in a desert. And I have a feeling that if that water touches anything, things get weird real fast.
It did look pretty liquid, whatever was in there.
It did. So, which makes you think, what the heck is this relic? It's spring, which makes you think. And I want to go back to your forever fall idea.
Mm-hmm.
What if it has it so it just rapidly spreads spring? Like, it is the pure element of spring, which, in my opinion, I have absolutely no idea why Salem would want that. None.
That's a good point, yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me at all as to why that would matter.
You're right.
Like, I really don't understand what these relics are and why they matter, and I'm really looking forward in the next episode to getting a clue. I'm hoping at least one, because I want one clue to be able to just bite off instead of just...
I hope we get a clue in the next episode. It's the last one.
I know. Well, of this season.
Yes, of this season.
No, I can't even say it.
For
okay.
like 9 months, which is basically forever.
It's a while. Could have a child in that. Oh gosh, no.
Anyway.
Anything else you would like to add about the relic, the desert, potential theories behind it before we move on to the fact that Yang got there with one shotgun gauntlet, which I had a feeling she knew how to work with one shotgun gauntlet considering she had lost her arm. Mm-hmm. But the fact that she could use it to properly propel herself amazes me.
That was cool. Well, I just wanted to mention briefly that one thought I did have was that, like, or do I think that it's like somewhere in the normal world and it's just like a
Ooh, I don't think it is.
I didn't think it was either. I thought that briefly. I didn't, but it seems unlikely to me just because of like the floaty part of the stones. Yeah. Unless like that area is imbued with magic or something, which is possible.
That's why I'm thinking it was a time bubble.
That's possible. I'm not sure. It's obviously very cryptic.
It is.
Very mysterious.
It is. You have the opposites of this spring, luscious tree and this desert. It's one heck of a parallel.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens when someone uses it.
Indeed. I really just hope they don't, like, accidentally spill it and then it's just chaos. Chaos.
That would be so funny.
That'd be very sad. Raven didn't look too happy to see Yang.
Yeah, weird.
I mean, I'm kind of curious if it's, oh, hey, you're messing with my plans, or this
probably
might
that
be
one.
Dangerous. I mean, it was probably that one. Because she didn't seem like overly confused. She's like, gosh darn it.
Because she finally just gotten through that big fight. And
yeah.
She was like, ugh, another one.
It's like, well, she doesn't know she's got to fight her daughter. She probably will.
No. No, they're not going to fight.
They might.
No way.
I also don't think so, because Yang seems pretty able to control her emotions. I think she just wants to talk and be like, hey, Mom, can I have that relic? The Raven's be like, I'm sorry, no.
First of all, Yang would get wrecked.
Yeah. She'd get absolutely destroyed.
Second of all, no, they're not going to do that.
I really hope
it would make a lot more sense for them to
just talk it out.
Talk it out, quote unquote. I don't know how that's going to go, because Yang is understandably pretty upset at her mother, in my eyes, for leading them into this trap. Or playing a part in this trap that's been sprung on them.
Yeah, now that I think about it, she hasn't even gotten a word in to her mom since she just growled at her. Oh, besides saying, Mom?
Yeah, you're right. Yang wasn't very talkative in that.
No, she was just kind of, which, understandable. She's kind of like, I don't need to talk to you. I can just growl at you. It's fine.
So what do you think they're going to say to each other? How do you think that's going to resolve?
All right, so I guess we'll start there. Well, I have a horrible theory, but I'll get to that in a sec. First,
Okay.
I think that Yang is going to do a Q&A. I don't know how responsive Raven will be, because I think she realizes she's still on a time limit. Because she's got to get out of there because it's currently surrounded. She doesn't know that, but it's surrounded.
It was also collapsing, so she
yeah.
might just like
Her only ally is currently dead.
True.
Her brother, she just had a quarrel with.
Though to be fair, at any time she could just zoop away.
Yeah, she just go, "Hey Ty, what? Why? Hi Ty." This really?
So
why do you do this every like 3 years?
Consider that that's always a factor.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. How it's just blip right there. But I think they're gonna have a conversation of sorts, and Yang and the audience might get some answers to some pretty important questions. I don't know if Yang saw any of that fight. If she saw any of that fight, it's like, oh, she'll put two and two together like, "Mama, you the spring maiden." This is not my Yang impression. I don't know what is going on.
Yeah, I don't think she did. So yeah, that'll probably come up. You're right.
Yeah. So I'm really curious to see how Raven tries to answer her daughter's questions and what answers that leads to us. And now for the bad theory. Remember how I said how Cinder's gonna, like the little Grimm inside of her is gonna go berserk and take over her body and stuff like that? I think she's gonna come out of the hole and maybe attack them, and then Raven might get killed or injured.
That is very dramatic.
Yeah, very dramatic. Get injured, and then Yang will have to
grab the relic.
No, she'd protect her mom, I think.
Oh, that too, I guess.
Yeah, and then if Raven dies, guess where those spring powers are going, assuming they aren't absorbed by Cinder? They're going to her daughter. Which, I hate this theory. I hate the theory that the RWBY team is going to become the four maidens.
I don't think they're going to give them the spring powers. Like, it just...
I mean, if Raven dies, I'm pretty sure it would go to Yang.
Yeah, it would. It probably would, yes. But I don't think they're going to do that.
I really hope they don't.
Yeah.
It would make me sad.
Yeah, it would be a little disappointing.
It would be quite disappointing. Okay. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen with their exchange? I put in my 2, maybe 5 cents.
I don't think it's really hard to predict anything that's going to happen in RWBY, as I always say. But I think Yang's just going to be like, "Why did you betray us?" And Raven's going to have to be like, "It was just a prank, bro."
What? You think that's the play? I think she's.
I mean, and when I say that, I meant Raven's going to explain her plan.
Okay.
What her plan was. Like, I wasn't really working with them.
Oh, okay.
But then I'm not sure, like, how Yang's going to react to that.
Okay.
Because I don't know if she's going to forgive her mom so quickly.
Okay. Or believe her.
Yeah, or believe her, or whatever. And she's going to be like, "What's that door? What's going on? Like, you're the spring what?"
Says, "Did you open that, Mom?" Yeah. "Oh, are you the spring maiden?" Yeah.
I'm like,
"Can I tell my friends?" No.
Yeah, I don't know how she's going to react.
Yeah, I don't either. It's going to have to happen, so I look forward to seeing how that resolves.
Yes.
I really hope the Cinder thing, if it does happen, it happens in a way that no one in that room dies. No one else in that room dies. I'm sorry for all.
2 of the 3 people who went down there are potentially dead already.
This is true. All right, so let's go back to the...
Let's talk about what's going to happen to the people on the surface.
Yes, the surface. That was around the world, that word I was looking for.
Yes.
But, yeah, who do you want to start with? There are quite a few options.
Let's start with Hazel, because he's my favorite.
I was going to pick Hazel, too, so this is good.
Good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, we know that on the surface, they're obviously, the bad guys, quote-unquote, are surrounded by the police, by the forces of Menagerie, and then obviously, the rest of the RWBY gang.
Not looking good.
No, it's not looking good for them. And so what I foresee happening is that... So it seems likely that at least most of them are going to get captured, is what it looks like. because...
Who's most of them?
Okay, so I say most of them because Hazel is too cool to be captured.
I agree.
And what's going to happen is he's just going to sprint out of there. I think Hazel is definitely fine. He's not going to get captured. No way, no how.
I agree.
The rest of them, however, are totally susceptible to being captured, especially Leo, obviously. And then...
If Leo hasn't run away already, yes.
Yes. I mean, pretty much all of them are about equally susceptible to being captured, in my opinion. All of the bad guys that are there. And I think the only thing that would save them is, one, either Hazel scoops up two of them underneath his arms and barrels away into the night, which seems unlikely, or Salem finally does something and saves them somehow.
Yeah, some Deus Machina we haven't seen yet shows up and it's like, hey, I'm gonna save the day.
Yeah, it's about time the bad guys got a Deus Ex Machina to save them. The good guys have had plenty.
Yeah, the Wyvern wasn't enough the first... gosh, that was ridiculous the first
I
saw that.
I think Salem should finally do something here.
Huh.
Because what I'm thinking, and what I was thinking is that, this is the last episode of the season. And what you need in a last episode is you need suspense. You need a hook to go into the next volume.
Yeah.
In Volume 3, we obviously had a hook. The Salem reveal. In Volume 4, we kind of had a hook because everyone was finally together and things were finally about to happen.
Yes.
If people just get captured, in my mind, there's not really a hook, right? Because it's basically, the way the storylines are going is that everything gets resolved and everyone's happy.
Yes.
Team RWBY meets back up and it's great.
Yes.
And if that actually ends like that, then where's the... Because Roosterteeth, we all know, they love doing cliffhangers.
Yeah.
So if that happens, where's the suspense? So that's why I think that something crazy is going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, my thoughts are that is, earlier I said how the bombs didn't go off, and I thought that was going to be the bad thing. I think something has to tip the things back in the bad guy's favor, and in my opinion, that's... So I don't know about Salem doing something. I honestly kind of don't think she would. I mean, she does have a fair amount at stake here, so maybe. But I kind of feel like the thing that's going to happen is Oz is going to get kidnapped.
By who?
Hazel.
Hazel's going to scoop up Oz and run away?
Yep. That's my thought.
I don't know.
I know he wants to kill him, but what's worse? A death by Salem? I don't know what she's going to do, but I imagine it's much worse than whatever Hazel's capable of.
I see where you're coming from, but I feel like Hazel hates Oz too much.
But I think he might have calmed down by now and realized, okay, I can't kill Oz here.
You think so?
Maybe.
I
think he might get a cool head in terms okay, things are going bad. I can't be berserk anymore because I will get taken down and eventually.
Also, I don't think Hazel would be able to just scoop up Oz.
Oh, I think he could.
Because, physically, obviously, yes, he could.
Yeah.
But, Oz will obviously be resisting, and every good guy that's there will be trying to stop him. He could scoop up his allies because they won't be, resisting him, but it doesn't seem likely to me.
Okay. So, good guys are tired. There's no denying that. They're pretty tired right now. None of them, beside Weiss, is in good shape. And the only reason Weiss is in good shape is because John gave some power to her. But I don't think Weiss can stop Hazel from running away. And I don't think Oscar/Oz is up for resisting against a supercharged Hazel. He's got 2 dusts in him.
How many dusts?
2 dusts.
2 dusts.
Too many dusts. But so I honestly think he could pull it off. If he pulled 2 dust crystals out of his pocket, I don't know what else he has up his sleeve, but I imagine it's crazy. I have faith that Hazel can pull a one-man stunt. But
I don't know.
Also, I don't know how the bad guys would get the relic, except if the Cinder thing happens. So I think the relic will either go to the good guys or Raven. And I'm only separating them simply because Raven seems to be in her own camp at the moment.
Camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, personally, like I said, I don't like the Hazel kidnap idea so much. I don't
Okay.
think it's very likely.
Sure.
But yeah, the relic does have to go to someone, and it's probably not going to be the bad guys.
Okay.
Because, I think Cinder's dead.
Yeah, you do believe Cinder's dead. I have, for some reason, I have faith she's alive. Even though I would be relatively okay if she was no longer alive. I guess that kind of the reason why I think it would be so drastic as to Oz disappears is that he's their general at the moment. He's the guy that knows the plan. He disappears, that's a crutch. And who's better to take up that than the newly reunited Team RWBY, Crow.
That's
like
fair.
It makes sense to me that they will have something that seemingly is bad, but they can take care of.
It just seems unlikely to me because I feel like they've already pulled the Ozpin's gone plot point.
But it didn't work because he was fine.
Yeah, and the same thing will happen again if he gets captured or...
He would have to commit suicide.
That's dark.
That's how he gets out of that scenario.
Jesus. Yeah, I mean, you're right.
Do you think Oscar's up for that? I don't.
I didn't consider that, but you're right.
That's how he gets out of that scenario. He commits suicide.
I feel like they've...
Please don't do that. I like Oscar too much.
I feel like they've already used that as a hook.
Okay.
I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be something different. Something that sort of one-ups things in intensity because
I guess you might be right.
But it's a valid thought, and it could happen.
Yeah. All right. Team RWBY, I think they'll get reunited. I don't think they're going anywhere unless something happens to Yang down there, which I don't think it'll be bad enough. She lost an arm already. Give her a break. Yeah. Blake, I imagine, is going to join them again because I imagine they're going to be on the same track of, we need to get rid of Salem, who was supporting the White Fang. Oh, man.
All right. So, 26-minute episode, 8 minutes of ending and beginning songs, 8 minutes of monologue.
Oh, wait, you're predicting how long? Wait.
4 minutes of content, 6 minutes of filler. That's
no.
how the last episodes go every time.
No, this one's going to be much better.
Oh, no, this one's going to be different. Okay.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah, we'll see.
I have faith. Oh.
I'll be damned if there's not going to be an 8-minute monologue.
Okay. Oh, so you think Adam's going to get captured? I do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems pretty likely. That would be a satisfying conclusion.
Do you think the tower will get taken down? I don't. I don't anymore. I thought it was. Something really bad would have to happen to make that occur.
I feel like it's possible. Because I feel like it's possible that either something happens via Salem or one of Salem's associates.
Sure.
Because the alternative to quote-unquote Salem doing something is Tyrion and Watts show back up.
Yeah, unless Watts brings something real cool, I don't see them taking down a tower. Or
it's something to consider. Because
suddenly another Wyvern appears.
They do still exist.
Yeah, they do.
And they did go back to Salem, but
they did.
They could come back.
This is true. So Emerald and Mercury captured. I think they actually have a decent chance of escaping simply because of Emerald's ability.
Okay, let's talk about Emerald for a second.
Okay. Oh, crud.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I already mentioned how if Cinder dies, I think that's where the powers are going. But
okay, but...
Oh, and unless the Grimm just doesn't take it.
Let's assume that for whatever reason, not considering the powers at all right now, Emerald learns that Cinder is dead.
Ooh.
What is she thinking?
She goes nuts.
I mean, as we learned,
or breaks down crying,
and as was kind of foreshadowed, Cinder is Cinder is the only reason that she is on that side.
Yeah. Well, then it's pretty obvious. It goes from protecting Cinder to getting revenge for Cinder.
I don't know. I feel like Emerald's not super vengeful. Not as vengeful as Cinder.
Ooh, I think she can get there though.
I mean, probably.
I don't think it's hard for her to get there though.
But I don't know.
And Mercury the punk?
Well, okay. I mean, Mercury's not as detached to Cinder.
Yeah.
Mercury is just like, you know, he was raised to fight things. So like he's gonna do that till he dies.
Yeah. So think he'll get captured?
Yeah, probably. Okay. But I think there's potential here for Emerald to either I don't know. There's potential for her to be captured. There's potential for her to like become a free agent in this conflict.
Yeah.
There's potential for her to switch sides.
I find it difficult to see her switch sides at this point. Later down the line, I see it. Now, no.
I think if she was going to switch sides at any time, I think this would be the great time to do it because her connection to Salem has been severed.
She never had one.
Yeah, her connection to Salem via Cinder has been severed.
But now that's the side against the people that got rid of her. That got rid of Cinder.
Well, to be fair, Raven killed Cinder.
Yes, but it's not hard to see, oh, she double-crossed us. Her brother's on the other side.
Well, yeah, Raven double-crossed them, but she also betrayed Ozpin's side too.
Yeah, but Emerald might not know that. Maybe
she does very explicitly know that because she was present at the camp when Raven explained that her plan was to double-cross them.
But that could have been a ruse the entire time.
I mean, whatever. I'm just saying that there's potential for interesting character stuff with Emerald.
Sure.
Because we learned about how she's tied to Cinder, and Cinder dies, and, you know, it's going to be sad, I'm sure.
All right. I guess it's somewhat difficult for me simply because I don't think Cinder is dead, so it's hard for me to get to the point where it's, oh, hey, what would truly happen to Emerald? But for the most part, I highly doubt she'd switch sides. I think she'd go the revenge route, at least for a while, until she gets sick of the fact that she doesn't like Salem's methods at all.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like she's just not cut out to be fully evil. But those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, that's fair. Anyone else of particular interest? I think the White Fang on both sides are going to join the menagerie side. I think they will be a force for good.
So, what's the next step?
Next step? What happens next? Obvious thing to say is beat Salem, but as we've discussed, we don't know if that's actually a good idea. Oh, something that reminds me of is when Raven says you can't beat Salem. I was thinking about it. I kind of was thinking why. Why does... What does she mean by that? And I was kind of thinking, if Grimm are fueled by human negative emotion, that makes perfect sense. Because humans are never going to reach a point where they're going to not experience negative emotions, which means Grimm will always keep spawning, which means if Salem is truly an evolved Grimm, there will eventually be another one that shows up.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's sort of like it becomes like a nature of mankind conflict.
Yeah, as long as there's humans, there will always be Grimm, that's a line that has been mentioned, is that there were humans and then there were Grimm. Almost a cause and effect statement.
You're right, that's a good point.
So that might be why she believes, okay, we can't do it because humans just can't be good all the time. They experience strife, conflict, sadness, anger, fear. It just happens.
Right.
And if you really think about what do Grimm do, they cause more of it. That's their only purpose in life, is to go after humans and faunus, which if they're fueled by that, that makes perfect sense. Because then they just continue their own development in the only way they can, which is feeding off their emotions.
Right. You're right.
So, next step is probably finding out more information and then going from there.
About the relic?
About the relic, about the maidens, about Oz, about Salem, about Grimm, about semblances, about pretty much almost every single current topic in RWBY that we have mentioned in this podcast.
That we don't know anything about?
That we know almost nothing about. Oh my gosh, I didn't even get to talk about Silver Eyes. Oh no.
Can I just mention one more? Well, let me ask you one more question.
Yes.
Then you could talk about that. What do you think is Salem's next step?
Salem's next step is
Now that her plan's been foiled.
Is to, in some way, shape, or form, get the relic, get Oz, destroy the tower, and maybe get RWBY.
Which has something to do with the Silver Eyes you were talking about?
Very much so. Has stuff
What
to
are
talk
your
about
thoughts on Silver Eyes?
Oh boy. Ugh. Let's crack the old neck for this one. All right. Silver Eyes, silly theory. Well, maybe not silly theory, but so.
Yep.
The idea is when the Silver Eyes activate, you know how they have that white glowy thing? That is very reminiscent of the Spring Maiden activation powers. They kind of have the same eye thing going.
You're right. It's very reminiscent.
Yeah. So one of two thoughts. One, stylistic choice. Just the way that they show powers. Two, Silver Eyes are a form of power that is similar to the maidens, but acts as a way to counter them, as I previously mentioned.
I think we mentioned that, yeah.
Two, Silver Eyes are actually the source of the power to begin with. The people of the Silver Eyes are actually the true people that had this power, and Ozpin, maybe being one originally, since he can body hop, doesn't matter if he has that original body anymore, passed some sort of form of the power or stole some power and then divided it off, or simply the Silver Eyes are the people that counteract whatever power it was, because we don't know what it was.
One interesting thought, now that you're talking about this, is, thinking about the relationship between Silver Eyes and Maiden powers.
Yes.
And I was just thinking to myself that if Silver Eyes were transferred in the same way that the Maiden powers were transferred, it would make a lot of sense for RWBY to be the one to get them, since her mother, Summer, was the one who had them, and she obviously died, and it would be entirely reasonable to think that she would transfer them to her daughter.
Thinking about that in the same vein of, Spring Maiden powers transfer via female, Silver Eyes presumably, potentially also transfer via female only.
Hypothetically,
Ozpin, for all intents and purposes, was probably originally male, making the question, if these powers, and if this is simply going off the idea that Silver Eyes was an initial power source, a male can't get that normally, meaning how could he possibly get it without taking it in some way, shape, or form, similarly to how Salem has the ability to take them back. Well, actually, not back, although hell, would that be an interesting statement if true. If all this
if true.
Actually, Salem had a role to play, and then when Ozpin effed things up, she's like, hey, I'm going to join the Grimm side. Gosh darn. Oh, this gets really convoluted really fast. But anyway, going back to the idea of the Silver Eyes potentially being a major source of power, potentially the original source, or a counter to Grimm and the Maiden powers, it goes to the idea that what if RWBY's like the chosen one or something, which I do not like.
That's possible.
But what if? She clearly has this ability. No one's told her how to use it. Salem's very interested in it, to the point that that you don't want to kill RWBY because you want whatever it is. It's clearly extremely important in a way we currently don't know, and as a result, speculating that, it might be either an original source, a counter, or some sort of maiden-like thing. Maybe there's a fifth maiden and it's Silver Eyes stuff.
Yes, the 5th season.
Yeah, the 5th season. Who knows what that is? But 5th season of RWBY. No. Yeah. I mean, there's more to potentially say about the Silver Eyes, but I think next episode it could come up, although the only reason I think it would is because someone is in potential danger or Super Grimm shows up.
I think something big's going to happen next episode.
Yes.
And I think that that's going to be our plot hook into the next season.
I agree.
So I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about when that happens.
Agreed. All right. So let's do the best we can to summarize this long, long episode.
Yeah, I don't think I'm capable of doing that, but you do your best.
All right. Here we go. All right. Main topics was Team RWBY's development, and as I say that, I realized barely talked about Weiss's. It's mainly that her powers got really, really good, and in her near-death experience, I imagine she will learn how to use them in a way that benefits her ability to stay alive.
Right. A lot of what we saw in this episode was character arcs drawing to a close.
Yes. Then besides that, we have the interior fight, which primarily surrounds Hazel being a amazing fighter and interesting character. And then after getting knocked out, going to the outside fight, which is Adam being an angry teenager and Blake being amazing, showing her development and the Faunus' development as a species. Is it okay to call them a species?
What else would you call them?
I don't know. I'm going to go with a species. And continuing on to then the Team RWBY potentially reuniting, Yang entering the vault, which then leads to going into the vault, where we have an epic fight, which we talk about a lot. And
Sweet song clip too.
yeah. Theories about if Cinder's dead. We have opposing theories, but that's fine. It's what we're here for. After that, a little bit of talk about the relic, potential theories around Salem, the Grimm.
And what's going to happen next time on RWBY?
Yeah, a lot of speculation. There are a lot of theories that we talked about, and if you guys enjoyed any of them, want to comment, tell us your own, please let us know in the comment section or email us at RWBYRamblings@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening to this long podcast. Sorry. I know that it was fairly long, but we had a lot to talk about. We had a lot of different theories that just came out of our discussion, so we hope you guys enjoyed.
Yes. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. I hope you're as excited as I am.
I'm Tristan.
And I'm Ben.
And this was RWBY Ramblings, Episode 5.